A Seattle man asks for bolt cutters at the Ace hardware store to snip the chain off a stolen bike. Yeah, I bought this bike today, but it came with this lock that's going through the frame and the rear tire. Could I just borrow the, bolt cutters for just a moment? Stolen? No. That's what we're talking about today on News for Reasonable People. Let's get into it. Okay, how ridiculous is this? Yeah. Oh, hey, there's a hardware store as he's literally got one hand on the handlebars and the other hand, he's got the frame of the bike because he can't really just wheel the bike down the sidewalk of 4th Avenue in Seattle. We'll get to that in a second. Because the rear tire doesn't rotate around. It's got a chain on. Why does your newly purchased bike come with a chain with no key to the lock? That's a conundrum. That is a mystery that needs to be answered, doesn't it? What a knucklehead criminal. But you know what? What if somebody who's like some sympathizer to something like Antifa or something just runs inside the hardware store and goes, here you go. Here's a set of bolt clippers. Gets rid of that chain, off he goes, riding his brand new bike, right? Not good. A man dragging a bike with a chain through the back wheel and frame stopped and asked a Seattle Ace hardware employee where the bolt cutters were on Wednesday. Would they let him bring that bike in the store? I mean, it's just such a weird thing. You got a chain on it and some guy's just dragging it around. Clearly, he just stole it, right? So there's your word to the wise. If you think that your whatever personal property needs to be permanently attached down with a lock, you're probably not wrong, especially in Seattle. Okay, let's talk about where this is specifically. And I had a question the other day. Actually, it was this morning, I think, on a premiere that I was watching and commenting back and forth in the comments as we do. And somebody asked, you know who you are, asked, hey, Westlake Mall, what's that like? Is that still dangerous? Well, this is literally from the Westlake Mall. You can see Ace Hardware across the street and up literally just a couple of stores. So this is that area. This is a block and a half from the Blade. And we're going to talk about the Blade in just a second because there's more stories going on there as well. This area of Seattle, not so good. Even though we've basically got a semi-permanent mobile police unit on the Blade on the western side of 3rd Avenue in between Pike and Pine. You got police presence there, but this has always been the open air drug market, stolen goods market, kind of prostitution, human trafficking. I mean, you name it, this little, pocket of Seattle's got it all. And what's wild is that just a few blocks to the north and west, you got the Pike Place Market. And people always ask me, well, are there any tourists going to Seattle anymore? Yeah, like 30 million plus a year. You got 30 million people coming into Seattle. You got cruise ships for days off the waterfront, which is just a quick walk up to where we're talking about. But Mayor Bruce Harrell has basically cleared out all the homeless encampments in these areas, in these tourist areas. So you've got just a couple of areas left that are really concentrated with the bad guys. Would you walk around here in a day? You could, but I'm going to read a story in a second that might dissuade you from doing so. So just go where all the tourists are. Don't go to the Blade. Don't go. I hate to say don't go to the Westlake Mall, but man, don't go to the Westlake Mall. I used to shop there. It's become really, really bad. And the police are trying to do something about it, but it's got that stigma that this is always the way it's always been. And no matter what you try and do gentrification wise, for some reason, it just always goes back to being that bad area, right? At about noon, the man was walking on the sidewalk, holding the rear tire up and pushing the bike near the Ace Hardware on 4th Avenue. The man stopped at the hardware store, went inside and asked an employee, where are your bolt cutters? What do you need bolt cutters for? My new bike. It's got a chain on it. Oh, who knew? After the employee refused to tell him, the man stood outside for approximately 10 minutes as employees called building security. He's just standing outside, What do you do? What are you going to do with that? Are you going to sell the bike? Are you going to ride the bike? Do you just want to ride the bike around town? And according to a witness at the scene, the man said he bought the bike yesterday. You know, one of the original stories I did back in the day when I was transitioning from real estate to just reading the news, mainly news like this that you want to hear, was in the homeless encampments, how there was a tent that was just loaded up with bike parts. There was like this area. I forget what encampment that was. I think it was at, I'll get the name of it. It was at, what park was that? Downtown Seattle. They cleared it out, massive sweep, kind of a triangular park. I did a few stories from there. I'll think of it. But there was a tent that was just loaded up with bike parts, and it had like 3 really expensive racing bikes in there. And the police were asking the dude, they're asking him, so how did you get said 3 expensive, bikes here? Somebody came by and just gave them to me. They donated them to me. They've got the tags from the store still on it. And all these bike parts are just bikes that have been stolen that people bring in parts. And this guy was selling them out of his tent in downtown Seattle, just willy-nilly. People come up with the stupid excuses because they don't have to come up with any kind of real excuse, because nothing's really probably going to happen to them. Maybe they confiscate the bike, they confiscate the bike parts. When they sweep them out, all those bike parts go into storage because they're deemed to be personal property. I think they should just throw everybody's stuff away. If you're living in a park illegally and the park has been swept, that's on you for not getting your stuff out of there. Tired of having the taxpayers pay for storage of said junk that after 90 days just goes in the dump anyway. So building security asked the man to leave, and when the man refused, Seattle police were called. What a dumbass. That's all I got to say about this guy. Number 1, you're asking for a bolt cutter. Don't any of your cohorts in crime in your homeless encampment, wherever you're living, don't they have a bolt cutter? I mean, maybe a metal saw? Don't some of your buddies who specialize in catalytic converter theft, don't they have a little saw, a little Dremel with a cutting tool on it? You could just cut that bad boy chain off, and then you can just ride it for your heart's content. Because I know you want that bike. I know you want to keep that. But no, you're going to part it out or sell it just straight up, right? Bikes are one of those things that it's common currency. It's currency within the homeless encampments. And that's what I learned kind of shortly after that podcast was, this is a form of currency that they can use, buy and sell, steal, liquidate, and then go buy their drugs, do whatever it is they're going to do, live off of that money. When police arrived, after they were unable to determine the ownership of the bike, it was confiscated. Do you own this? Prove it. Do you own this? Prove it. Can't prove it, right? They also can't prove it's not his, other than the chain on the rear tire. According to a witness at the scene, the man was not arrested because they can't prove it. The knucklehead came in walking into the store. Yeah, I got a bike cutter. You got a metal cutter, bolt cutter. Depending on how big that chain is, that's not the easiest task in the world, is it? Typically got to get out a hacksaw, get it on your vise, and get a real good grip on that, and then just do your work like that. Right across it, just zzz. You got a big enough set of bolt, one of those big Mongo bolt cutters? Yeah, you can do it. But who's running around with one of those? And do they even sell those at Ace Hardware? Probably not. Maybe they're a bestseller at Ace Hardware in downtown Seattle. Probably, right? Just crazy. All right. So somebody was asking, you know who you are. Hey, what about Westlake Mall? Well, Westlake Mall was right around the corner from the Westlake Park, It's actually up the street just a little bit, where I did a live stream and I had some tweaker just kind of looking at me, just getting weird. And he jumped down and he shot up in his foot. That was the beginning of my live stream, right? It's like, what is going on here? That's in front of Westlake Mall. So if you remember that one, that's what I was doing. But here's an article that kind of gives us a few clues. It's an older article, and I read some of these stories already, but this kind of gives a highlight of it's better, but it's still bad. Crime impacting businesses in downtown Seattle. Still is. Okay. Business owners in downtown Seattle are feeling the impacts of crime in the area. Last week, a man was attacked by another man swinging a metal rod, but he died from those injuries over the weekend. He got hit in the head 3 times right on 3rd Avenue. The attack happened at 3rd Avenue and Pike Street. That's the Blade that I'm talking about. It's, half a block down, a block and a half from this, the Ace Hardware, where the guy is, you got a bike, lock cutter. And it's an area notorious for drugs and violence. Seattle police deployed a mobile precinct nearby to deter criminals. This attack with the metal rod happened at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, surrounded by strangers and police who witnessed the incident. And then goes on to talk about a store employee, Erica Lohndorf. She is, my job has changed from helping people to try on clothes to helping people try on clothes and be a bouncer. And I believe she got punched in the face one time. But her reason for, really enjoying being at that store and occasionally taking one, right to the face is I get a really good deal on really good clothing. Yeah. But if I got to deal with that, I'm probably a hard no-go. I'm going to go find a retail store elsewhere because whatever you're getting paid, it's not worth it, right? Just down the block, a Seattle police mobile precinct makes cop visibility unmistakable. Even so, last Tuesday, a violent attack a block away at 3rd Avenue and Pine Street gravely injured 66-year-old Rodney Peterman. Court documents allege 48-year-old Aaron Justice Volk used a metal object to strike Peterman twice, then a third time. This is the guy that went down and was killed. And the reason the reason he killed this individual is he thought Peterman was doing the devil's work. Okay, so you've got a literal nut job taking a metal rod and randomly picking somebody else out that they think is doing the devil's work. All right. So do you want to go shopping at Westlake Mall now? I mean, it's pretty safe once you get inside, but this is literally, 4-week-old story, I think. So this is not old. This is not like, hey, we've cleaned it all up and it's all better now. Hey, come on down the Westlake Mall. So, once you get inside the Westlake Mall, it's okay. And, I park in the Westlake Mall parking garage. It's okay. I asked the parking garage guy on duty probably a couple of months ago, hey, how's it going? How's it going with, people coming down here and sleeping and stuff? And he goes, every now and then I got to scoot somebody out. But for the most part, everybody knows this is secured. We got 24-hour security here and they don't come down here a lot. But yeah, we do have issues. Like, yeah, you got a bunch of nut jobs running around. You got somebody with a metal rod whacking old people in the head, not old people, but people in their 60s, 66-year-old Rodney Peterman, that this individual Falk thought was doing the devil's work. That guy's going to do some time, right? Or is he? He's probably not going to get put in the institution he needs because we don't have space for him. He's going to get paid $250 a day because he's a mental nut job. And because his due process is being violated, he's going to get paid $250 a day. So in July, the King County Prosecutor's Attorney's Office said it filed 598 felony cases, which is about 30 charges filed every single business day. 30. Every day. The majority of the charges are connected to violent or gun crimes. That's comforting. And 21% related to domestic violence. Plus, felony charges related to firearms and repeat offenders were filed each business day throughout the month. So the safety has improved in general over in this area, but you've got a couple of blocks there where I would not recommend. You've just got this history. This is that area where Amazon has said, yeah, we're not so much. And the Amazon building is on 3rd. The hardware store is on 4th. So literally you go 1 block to the west, and that's where the Amazon building is, where they're saying, I don't think we're going to be bringing back our employees. Starbucks shut down the coffee shop on the southern end of 3rd Avenue. They're like, yeah, we got some safety concerns here. I can't remember if that was one of the ones that was unionized. But I always find that kind of entertaining. You're going to unionize up? All right, going to shut you down. We're going to call it safety issues. Yeah, one of those situations. Not funny for the employees of Starbucks, but you got to be, what a difficult job being a Starbucks employee where you got people coming in and, using the bathroom to shoot up drugs, have sex, turn tricks, and then just basically destroy it because the CEO said, we're just going to have our bathrooms open to any and everybody that needs to go, that even if you're a non-paying customer. That's what they're doing. So would I go shopping at the Westlake Mall? Probably not. Pick any other mall other than that. But it's not like the whole area is loaded with this kind of stuff. You got 30 million tourists coming through. You're not hearing me read stories about them being accosted on a daily basis, right? Because they're in those areas where it's just so high concentration of tourists. Over here on the Blade, not so much. Not so much. You don't. That's in between 3rd Avenue is north and south. Pike to the north, Pine to the south, or reversed, whatever that is. I can't remember. Yeah, that section. And just to the north, you got Ace Hardware, where you can probably get a bolt cutter. All right. Thanks for being here. That's it for me on this one. We'll catch up soon. Talk on the next one. Bye for now.